Ripple and XRP. They're hitting escape velocity, and the big banks are going to try, but they're not going to be able to drag them back to earth here because this week something shifted, and it doesn't show up in the charts, but in the behavior of institutions that actually decide where capital flows. Now, XRP ETFs quietly pulled in more net inflows, get this, than Bitcoin and Ethereum combined. Now we have Evernorth's billion-dollar SPAC, XRPN. It's gearing up to buy XRP straight off the open market and grow an institutional treasury over time, built on XRP. We got some updates there. And as always, the moment the momentum really changes here, the critics that come out of the woodworks every time with the same recycled lines they've been using since 2018, pretending that none of this is new, pretending the landscape hasn't changed. They're in for a rude awakening. But while they argue, one of the biggest anti-crypto fortresses in America collapsed. Vanguard, a $9 trillion stronghold that spent a decade calling crypto too speculative, too risky. Well, they finally opened its gates, allowing not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum, XRP, and Solana ETFs onto its platform. And not because they wanted to, but because their customers forced their hand. And underneath the noise, under the pressure that's forming right now, digital asset treasuries, companies, the rising stars of 2025, well, now they're struggling. Things are breaking down. Is this the next big risk to crypto? Let's get into it. We got a lot to go over here. Now, this was wild. Wall Street just chose XRP over Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the data is brutal. Institutions, they're not subtle. They don't tweet. They vote with their money. They vote with capital. And over the last few weeks here, Wall Street made its position crystal clear. XRP spot ETFs pulled in $750 million more in inflows than both Bitcoin and Ethereum together. Yes, the inflows are over a short period of time. We have to recognize that. Yes, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they had outflows that amplified that gap, of course. And the price, you're not seeing XRP run yet, but there's a real signal there. There's something to gather. Wall Street, they're quietly rotating in XRP ETFs while the rest of the market sleeps, while your regular investor has no idea what's going on here. If the inflows continue or normalize at even half of this pace, XRP enters a new competitive era here where banks, brokerages, pension funds, algorithmic allocators start treating this like, well, one of the top assets in the world. We have to watch this develop. Does it continue? But any way you want to look at it, that's a serious signal here. Now, Ripple XRP. Wall Street just built a $1 billion XRP accumulation machine. And the update here is the S4 was filed. Now, let's be clear. This deal still needs shareholder approval to close. Probably going to get it. SEC clearance. I think we're going to get that too. And NASDAQ compliance. So SPACs at this point in time, they could still fall apart. But Evernorth's deal is confirmed. It's filed. It's heading to the NASDAQ under XRPN. And the mission, it's aggressive. To raise not only $1 billion, which they mainly have already, both in cash contributed, XRP contributed from the open market, but they want to grow it and grow it aggressively. The Wall Street's first attempt to build an institutional XRP treasury designed, and this is an important part, to expand over time. To build your XRP per share, we have big-time investors here. SBI, Ripple, Pantera, Kraken, GSR, Chris Larsen himself. And remember, this is not a passive ETF. They are managing this to build and compound, and that's what's so exciting here. And it's my opinion that this is just the first test of this concept, because who's the biggest XRP treasury out there, the biggest digital asset treasury of any kind? Well, it's Ripple. And they built it not with debt. They're not going to be encumbered by all this debt. They have real businesses that could feed cash flow into the company, and they can continue to actually at some point stop selling and possibly buy more XRP. It's only a matter of time. We'll see this play out. But to me, this is the pilot test of something at scale. What's the value? Does it trade above its book value of its XRP on the books? If it does, that's going to be bullish as it gets for Ripple. Now, we saw this. This is what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know if this is the guy here. This supposed five-star investor just took a swing at XRP, and the XRP army isn't having it. We have this Anders Bylund. He looks like a Bylund, doesn't he? What he's saying, get this, is that since November 2024, XRP has been wildly overvalued. Now, it's my opinion XRP was wildly suppressed, and it has been for a long time, and you haven't even seen growth yet. That's the way I see it. But this guy says we're wildly overvalued, and we're due for a big correction here. To me, this isn't analysis. This is a lazy rerun of recycled anti-XRP arguments that have been running since 2018. He called XRP a first mover in global payments, which is bullish, but then immediately dismissed a multi-trillion-dollar market like it's just irrelevant. Like, that makes no sense. He claims last winter's rally was just speculation while ignoring ETFs, licensors, institutional inflows, infrastructure that just wasn't here even a year ago, not to mention all the upgrades to the network and upgrades to come. There's just a lot that's onboarding. He says moving your money from Bitcoin to XRP is a bad move, and finishes with buy Bitcoin, not XRP. And of course he does. Every critic eventually reveals the same Bitcoin maxi template every time. Oversimplifying XRP, ignoring fundamentals, pretending BTC has no competition. And really, this is the thing. You can dislike XRP, that's fine. There's a lot of crypto blockchains out there. But acting like Bitcoin is the only asset that's allowed to grow, that's the only thing you should buy, that's not insight. That's just ideology dressed up as research. That's what this guy is doing. He's a Bitcoin maxi, which is great. We need maximalists out here. They keep us going through during the rough times. But again, there's going to be more than just Bitcoin over the long haul. And it looks like XRP is being quite competitive. You got to like the way this is playing out here. Now, Vanguard, this was a big driver of value today. The market kind of woke up at this. They just folded. They've been not allowing not just XRP, any crypto on their platform. They're one of the biggest holdouts in TradFi, and they caved. They can't hold up anymore. You can't stop progress. Vanguard, now this is a 9 trillion giant that spent a decade again pushing back, saying crypto's too dangerous. It's too speculative. It has no value. Well, now they're going to allow it. This is a full reversal of a long-standing anti-crypto stance, and this is what pushed them over the edge. Relentless demand from retail and institutions alike. Both want access to the crypto space. Spot Bitcoin ETFs, they pull in billions of dollars even during downturns. BlackRock's IBIT swelling to 70 billion asset under management at its peak. 8 million Vanguard brokerage customers demanding access, saying, look, give it to us or we're moving our money. After a $1 trillion drawdown, now's the time to enter. Vanguard, they can't resist. They understand what's on the near horizon here. This is going to take off. If you're going to get in, now is the time. Crypto is now sitting in the most conservative corner of American wealth. Your biggest investors, your most conservative investors, and when they invest in a Bitcoin or an XRP ETF, that money's going to be sticky. They're not trading it. They're not day trading on Vanguard, right? They're going to take out positions. They're going to leave it there and let it grow over a long period of time. And so this is a big deal. And you saw the market react today. Now, digital asset treasuries, the next big crypto innovation or the next big bubble that's going to blow up in our face. 2025 wasn't AI. Wasn't ETFs or meme coins, it's DATs. Digital asset treasuries, that's been the driver. Of course, you have Strategy, which is the first and biggest DAT out there with Bitcoin, but you had a whole bunch of other ones. You have Tom Lee with his Ethereum DAT, and they're all kind of the same thing. Their stock trades at a premium. They sell stock, they buy crypto, they use leverage to try to grow faster than the crypto. It's a self-reinforcing loop until it fails, and right now it is failing because most DATs are trading below their own crypto holdings. And this is problematic because it breaks the flywheel. Now, if they sell, they are diluting shareholders. That's what we saw with Strategy. They said, well, we didn't sell any Bitcoin. Well, they kind of did. You lost Bitcoin per share in that last funding round they did. You got diluted. You lost value. You lost long-term money. That's not good. And so this is where we sit. If sentiment, price, or liquidity drops, well, DATs could really unravel here. This is what I would say, too. Not every DAT is the same. You look at what we're trying to do with this XRP DAT. They're not looking to use a lot of leverage and debt, right? They're going to lend out the XRP. They're going to, do different productive things with that XRP to try to take money. You don't have that same risk. And with Michael Saylor, had he kept his debt under control, I wouldn't have any problem with it. But he has so much debt and no ability to service that debt. That's my issue. So will someone come up with the working model for digital asset treasury? Absolutely. And these can be quite compelling. But many of them, they're using too much leverage, too much risk, and that's the problem. That's the problem. This is going to have to flush out. They're going to roll out a bunch of new rules, and then probably this will be a workable model. But if crypto recovers, well, DATs will probably continue to do good until they don't. Now, Bitcoin today erupted above $90,000, but the market's still kind of semi-terrified. We had a $1 billion leverage wipeout. one of the ugliest sell-offs in months, and Bitcoin just ripped back above $90,000. And part of what's driving it, SEC Chair Paul Atkins teased it. Innovative exemptions for digital asset companies. He's saying, look, we're not going to wait for Congress. We're going to get out in front of this and get, transparency out to the market. That's great for now. We need regulations for the long term to know it's codified, that you can't change with the new SEC, things like that. But it's a huge step, and it'll help us for next year and the year after and the year after that. So that's good. Vanguard, of course, I talked about this, opening their door to crypto ETFs and mutual funds. It's going to bring a lot of money into the space. And Wall Street traders say crypto is transitioning out of liquidation mode. So maybe we have found a bottom and it's time to recover. Let's see it play out. Again, I'm not going to try to predict that, but eventually we will find a bottom and we'll come ripping out of here. Now, Kraken making a big move today around tokenization of assets. I've been saying this is the key because, you have to talk banks into using your payment systems, all this other stuff. They are begging for RWAs. And Kraken is done talking about it. They're executing. They just acquired Bakkt Finance. It's the number 2 platform for tokenization of public stocks in the world. 23% of the market share, 60 plus tokenized equities and ETFs. This is a direct play of the futures market, 24/7 trading, on-chain collateral, real stocks wrapped as tokens. Now, BlackRock, they've already made their move. They have their $2.3 billion tokenized fund, the BUIDL fund. But Kraken, they're being aggressive here. They want to be a first mover, fresh off a $20 billion valuation, IPO coming next year. They made 5 acquisitions so far this year. The tokenization race is accelerating, and Kraken, they just stepped into the lead. And I'll tell you this, Kraken, they're one of the OGs, one of the OG investors in Ripple. They had a falling out with Jed McCaleb and Chris Larson, and they were in the mix of all that. I would like to see Kraken and Ripple work together again closely. I think there's a lot of synergy there. They could do a lot of good. Hopefully they can mend some of those problems of the past. That's way behind us. I really, really like Kraken a lot, and I think that could be a great partnership. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.